What's good, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this one, I'm going to break down the exact trade that you should take advantage of on Bitcoin for today, as well as a couple of other trades that are worth considering because they just look amazing. And also, this Bitcoin downtrend is not over. Now, if you're thinking about buying the dip, don't, because it's a really stupid thing to do with your money. And chances that you will end up holding a bag and be down like 50% is pretty high. And I don't want that for you. So I'm going to explain that as well later into the video. But anyways, before we get into it, welcome. My name is Xuan. I've been publicly documenting these trade calls that you're about to see here for the last year and a half. And so far, I have about a 75% win rate tracked across about 200 trade calls. So yeah, I tend to be right a little bit more often than I'm wrong. So you're in the right place. But yesterday was an exceptional example of that. Not only did I make a video telling you exactly what to look out for, it happened. Plus, I gave you guys the exact targets, 64 and 63. Both of these ended up getting hit in the same day. And I even gave you guys the exact entry at the time that I entered. Now, overall, I know that I didn't quite manage to, catch the entirety of the move, but you got to understand, before the move happened yesterday, it was really choppy. So I wasn't expecting too much. So I didn't want to be too aggressive, even though even though the targets that I gave you at 65 and 63 both ended up getting hit within the span of the same day. Yeah, I just wanted to play it a little bit safe, but overall it was still about $2,500 worth of profit. So personally, I'm happy with that. And yeah, today I'm going to hopefully try to do better. But overall, if you guys haven't followed me on Twitter already, if you guys want to follow along with these entries, I tend to post whatever trades that I do end up taking. But anyways, this is not new. This is not the first time this has happened where, I catch a move this cleanly, this accurately. I've been doing this, consistently for the last year and a half, right? On a side note, if you would like to learn this very consistent, very easy system, feel free to click the first link in the description box below. Now, if you've watched my videos and you've seen that, hey, this system works, I seem to know what I'm talking about. I seem to know what I'm doing. And if you like my mode of operation and philosophy when it comes to trading, and if you like to learn that for yourself, there's a link in the description box below. But no stress if you don't want it, because now we're going to get into the video. So just to kick things off on Bitcoin, again, we're looking at a super bearish move today. And one of the pieces of alpha that I would like to jump into right away, and this is something that I discussed with my students yesterday since we were live trading together, we ended up catching this move live. One of the things that that was brought up was that, hey, price seems to already have, dumped a lot, right? Because if you take a look at these two daily candles over here, this was a really aggressive dump. So wasn't I concerned that today, or in yesterday's case, yesterday would have been like a ranging day, because the market usually goes through an expansive, because the market tends to, just repeat this pattern where you get an aggressive move and then followed by a few days of chop or very little volatility. And then you go for another aggressive move again. Now, my reply with him was quite simple. Two things, actually. The first of which is that the more you try to overthink and the more you try to time the market to try to determine, oh yeah, the bottom's in, or yeah, the top is in, the more you're going to start missing out on these big moves entirely, because you're trying to be smart instead of just following the system, which leads me on to point number two. We have a system here, right? There is a set of criteria that we want to see met before a trade idea becomes a kind of trade setup. This is exactly what you saw yesterday with my wording when it comes to that Bitcoin trade. I wasn't overthinking anything. It's just I had a plan that I set out at the start of the video, and once all of the conditions were met for that plan to become a valid trade setup, look at this. Waited the whole morning for the CISD, finally got in, right? That was the CISD that I taught you guys about as well. And kaboom, plan trade the plan. And this is kind of what we want to boil down trading into, which is we have a set of criteria that we want to see from the markets. If the markets gives us that, then we simply execute. We don't think about whether or not, the trend might be over. Are we close to a bottom? Are we going to start chopping around? Nobody knows. And it's not even our job to predict when these things are going to happen. And neither is it a profitable thing for us to predict. Even if we accurately predict it, so what? And if I could really just bring it back to one of the sentences that I like to say a lot, you could either be right in the market or you can be making money. And oftentimes you don't need to be right to make money in the market. So with that out of the way, I know we have had a pretty aggressive move so far already, but does not mean that it's over. At some point, yes, we are going to read the market wrong. We are going to be jumping into a short at some point where the market reverses, but that's not even the point. The point is that A, we cannot predict that, and B, by the time we lose that one or two trades at the bottom, when, things are about to reverse, guess what? We've already taken advantage of 7 wins in a row because we were able to follow the trend without overthinking too much or without, trying to be too smart. So with that said, right, with that rant over, we are looking for a short today, even though we have already had an aggressive move. Now, so far, over the last 3 weeks or so, basically every video that I've been making is just telling you to go short. And so far, we've been making bank on almost every single day. There is a reason why that is the case. The trend is bearish so far. There's zero indication on the higher time frame that the trend is going to become bullish. And as long as the trend continues to remain bearish, we will trade it in that direction until proven otherwise. And eventually, yes, we will be proven otherwise, but it doesn't matter. Like over here, we might have already made like 10R just throughout this entire move. So what if we lose a couple of trades and lose 2R at the end of the trend when things are about to reverse? Guess what? It doesn't matter. You're net overall positive, and that's the math of trading that you got to really understand if you want to blast in this market. So yes, again, liquidity point, key liquidity point has been taken. I understand, but until the system tells us that things are about to reverse, we're still going to just trade it in the direction of the trend so far, which leads me on to the 1 hourly chart. In terms of the 1 hourly chart here, prices came back into a fair bit of gap sometime during the London session. So far, you're starting to break lower. And in terms of the 5-minute chart, let's go down. And yeah, prices basically still in bearish order flow, which means during the London session already, if you manage to catch this trade where you get the bearish CISD followed by some sort of high, you're already valid. At this point right here, it's already valid to jump into a trade. But at this point, by the time you watch this video, think what you're going to want to look for is that the bearish order flow is maintained on the 5-minute chart. Basically, you don't want to see price basically breaking above $65,000. If that happens, then the next level that you're going to want to watch for is going to be this one right here. Now, obviously, it's not going to be ideal, but this is still a bearish order block. So by the time you watch this video, 2 things could happen, right? Price is either going to continue breaking lower, in which case you simply take advantage of newly formed order blocks to kind of enter. The second scenario is that price ends up, coming into this order block, and around the hours of 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., you're going to start seeing a movement towards the downside. Now, why 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. specifically? Because today we do not have news. As you can see right here, there is no USD news. We have 1 a.m., that's Australian dollar, completely irrelevant to what's Bitcoin doing, completely irrelevant to what Bitcoin is doing. And then you have another one at 11:40 a.m. for the Great British Pound. But neither of this is USD red folder news, which means that on a non-news day, we're simply going to trade the New York market as the standard New York pill zone. Basically, your trading window is going to be between 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. New York. If you don't see an entry, for example, earlier on, I've mentioned okay, between 7 to 10, you want to see price come into here and start breaking lower. If you get that sign that price is breaking lower, obviously the way that you do that is through a CISD. If you don't know what's that, a little bit hard for me to explain here, feel free to just YouTube what is CISD. There are a bunch of videos there. So once you get the CISD, that is your confirmation that things are looking bearish. And if you get that, then boom, right? It's as easy as trading this way. So downside, what is your target? Go for 2R, right? If you're new to this trading, one of the most important things for you is that you consistently just get wins. After all, as somebody new to trading, it's going to be pretty tough if you run into a load of losing streaks, which is a lot easier to happen if you start aiming for targets that are way too far, because there's just a much lower chance that your trades actually hit the target. So here, same thing as well, right? I might have been putting my target at $61,000, but you could literally just target 2R and just take advantage of these momentum trades. Overall, the playbook is simple. You're just going to be looking for a short. Either price is going to dump from this point onwards, or price is going to retrace slightly higher and then dump from that point onwards. Either way, the playbook is clear. You're just going to be looking for a short. And as usual, if I do post any trades, I will be calling it onto Twitter. But with that aside, I think there were a couple of trades that I was looking for. Yeah, right here on gold, right? This is very worth looking into, where so far you're in bearish order flow. Your daily bias is bearish. On the 1 hourly, you're coming back into a bearish PDRA. Not only that, but you have just confirmed a bearish CISD here, literally 10 minutes ago. And right now, this entire block here is already validated as a bearish order block. So if we just go into the 5-minute chart right now, it's already, ready for some sort of trade. But either way, this is one of the other setups where the conditions are just really clear and things are looking really clean. So this is something that I would take advantage of if you have access to Forex. And since you're in a bearish daily bias, obviously it stands to reason that it would make sense if you go slightly lower. So potentially a 4R, we're looking at a potential 4R trade over here. And I believe the other like proper setup was going to be NQ, like Nasdaq. Basically, you have a very clear draw on liquidity here. You have a bearish daily bias. You're literally at all-time highs, but over here you have 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6 relatively equal lows. So far, the 1 hourly order flow is bearish. Secondly, you have come back into a fair value gap, and so far it seems that you're about to get rejected. So by the time you get this CISD here, basically, if you get a 1 hourly candle close beneath $30,400, you're going to be looking for a move towards the downside. Basically, same exact setup as yesterday on Bitcoin, where this is going to become your new bearish order block. And you're simply going to take advantage of this to basically short it towards the downside. And this is going to be a easy 2R trade. So these are going to be the few setups. If you rather not have to rely on these videos and be able to open up a chart and know exactly what you're looking for and be able to have the patience to wait for the setup to form and then to have no hesitation when you actually take the trade, this is exactly what we solve inside Bootcamp. Feel free to click the first links in the description box below if that resonated with you. But otherwise, I'll see you in tomorrow's video and I'll see you later on X if I decide to take the trade. Ciao, ciao.